announcement before the video starts. According to YouTube algorithm, 80% of you aren't subscribed, so if you can, please consider subscribing. It would really help the channel out. Thank you so much, and we'll get on to the video. This is a Ray X Listener fanfiction written by me, Ginger Lee, titled Behind the Scenes. Chapter 5. Ryan's POV. I went inside to see Phil running down the hall and up the stairwell to, I assume, call the others that were upstairs. As I made my way to the dining hall, to see everyone and a new woman holding a baby, I made my way over to Mom, as she soon spotted me, and said, "Ryan, can you help hold the baby?" I nodded, silently making my way over to the new person as she placed the little one in my arms. When I turned to see everyone looking at me, standing next to Mom, the 5 walked in, and Mom introduced. "Let me introduce. This is Carol, one of your new siblings," she said, pointing at the baby, as it let out a yawn before cuddling into me, going back to sleep. When Mom continued, "The person next to me is Sister Crone. She's here to help me out with some of the chores around the house." She waited for a few minutes before, "Sister Crone?" Crone took the hint and replied accordingly. "Ah, yes. I will be living with you here from now on. Nice to meet you all," she finished. I focused on Carol as she snuggled into me even more when Sister Crone said, "Wow, you're really good with babies." Looking at me, I only nodded when Mom butted in. They don't speak much compared to the others, and yes, they are indeed. I did not reply and only walked to the direction of the nursery when I heard Mom's voice call out, "Are you going to the nursery?" I nodded at the question when she said, "After you're done, go play, okay?" I nodded yet again, turning away as the children ran out and I held the child in my hands closer. Arriving at the nursery, I placed her into her bed beforehand as I soon walked out, making my way to the fields, but stopped midway and turned back, going to the direction of the library, after just remembering that I have finished the book I had borrowed a day ago. I looked for a new one when I remembered I had a book in my nightstand drawer I can read. Going to the room, finding it, I took it out as I saw a golden chain with a glass monocle on the end, catching my eye. Flipping the book open, reading it, I walked down the hall, not caring about the monocle as I already knew what it was used a few years back. Reading the book, I made my way down the stairs and the halls as I went outside to see the kids running around when I sat underneath a tree as kids came to me with colorful flowers. Making them some flower crowns, Anna walked over before saying, "Hey, Ryan, can you help me? I haven't really mastered how to braid a braided crown yet." I nodded, placing the flower crowns next to me as the kids took them and ran off. yelling a simple thank you. I looked at the extra flowers laying about before asking Anna to turn around, tying her hair and adding the flowers into them. After dinner, I walked to the nursery holding some towels and helping the babies, as there was this fuzzy feeling in me. What is this? I thought, but I shook it off. Waiting for Emma and Gilda as I woke up all the babies, but they soon arrived. As I saw them enter, they soon greeted me, as I was bathing one of the babies. But not long after I finished bathing them all, I took my leave, knowing Gilda wanted to ask Emma something, alone, as the atmosphere became very tense. I made my way to the dining hall to help Ray and Norman when I saw they were both shaking Sister Crone's hands. I walked over before I bowed. "Hello, I'm YN, number 52194, and pardon me for my lack of emotions. I have been noted as so. On another note, nice to make your acquaintance, Sister Crone," I said, trying to sound sincere, before getting up from my bowing position, extending a hand, waiting for her to shake it. She soon accepted it and replied, "It's nice to meet you too, and your mom told me all about your problem, so don't worry." I only nodded before walking over to the sink and starting to help with the dishes. When Sister Crone left, and I felt Norman looking at me, but shook it off as I did the dishes, not wanting to know why he was staring. When out of the blue he asked, "Don't you have to help out with the babies?" I nodded as he stopped and looked at me with a simple, "So?" I continued cleaning the utensils before saying, "Gilda needed to talk to Emma in private, therefore I left, so they may talk alone, and came over here to help." Ray and Norman nodded before Norman looked down, mumbling, "I'm sorry." I stopped, hearing this, looking over before patting his head, saying, "It's not your fault. You had the right to." As we finished cleaning, along with the room, the endless night started, as I stayed in the library to midnight, leaving my bracelet at the bedside before I went training. The next day passed by rather quickly as I took care of the children the whole day, but as for the day after, during free time, I was reading when Phil came running over to me yelling, "YN, we're all playing tag, even Ray. Do you want to join?" I sat there and thought, I can, but I need to act weak. Sure. Because I normally wouldn't play, if I actually put out my real abilities, it would seem suspicious, would it not? I nodded, sprinting over to him before the game started. Instead of running about like everyone else, I found a place to hide. Walking around the forest till I found a cliff, not that far from the house and not that deep into the forest. When I found an entry, hiding underneath the cliff. The entry was small and the cave wasn't that big either, so if anyone was to find me, I would be tagged easily. As I fit in there, I continue reading my book with the help of the sunlight. I read a book that I've recently found on herbs and edible greens, found in forests, occasionally hearing the running of boots on the ground. Run by, run across, or run even above. As I looked at my pocket watch, seeing 3 more minutes, I thought, when I felt someone on top of the cliff. I took a deep breath and walked out, standing in a more hidden, secluded area. As I counted the seconds till there was only 60 left, walking closer to the present. After coming out of my hiding spot, I walked, not making a sound, as I silently thought, 3, 2, 1. As the last number came to thought, I placed a hand onto the person's shoulder, resulting in them flipping the switch and pushing me off the small cliff. As I braced myself for impact, when instead of feeling the rocky floor, I felt a soft pair of arms held onto me. Opening my arms when I saw Ray holding onto me, as Sister Crone noticed that she never even noticed where I was for the whole game. Ray looked at me and said, "YN, that was dangerous." I nodded and tried to get up when I felt my feet lose balance, bumping back into him. He held onto my shoulders before throwing me back into his arms. "You must still be shaken up, I guess," he said as Norman ran over before saying, "I'm so sorry, YN. You scared me." I nodded as he picked up my book for me, handing it over as I laid there in Ray's arms. When we all walked back, announcing our victory as we all celebrated. Almost all of us celebrated. Hey my little creamers, I hope you all enjoyed that video, and if you were a fan of My Imperfect Princess, great news! I made another one. And this one is way more sadder than the next. Just kidding. I have no idea where the story is taking a toll to, but I am hopeful that it will be a very good story, as I have not finished it completely and is in the editing stage of it. So you might see that soon, and I have a Hanako story in the works and an Attack on Titan story in the drafts. So you'll be seeing a lot of me. I'll try to post more often so I can get out these stories out as quick as possible, but I think I will slow things down maybe, and sometimes even not have one-shot Mondays, because, well, I want to give you guys the most content, and yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye my little creamers!